Alright, welcome to Metal Ben's Chronicles here on this Friday. Yes. Now, there was a video response thing kind of going around. Kind of forget who started it or where it came from. But I saw Scott Waters, Cloudy, Mauder, Andy, and Mark G with a C made videos on this. And apparently there was a thread going around, or a video pretty much asking, is thrash metal dead? Or, they might have thought thrash metal was starting to die off. Where I totally disagree. I don't think thrash metal is dead at all. In fact, it's far from dead. We've gotten some of the best thrash metal albums here in 2019. Actually, we've gotten some of the best thrash metal throughout the last decade, going all the way back to, I'd say 2007 at least. With bands like Eval coming up, Warbringer, Municipal Waste, Bonded by Blood, Avenger of Blood, Fueled by Fire, bands like that, who have put out solid thrash metal albums. Hyad, Vindicator, the list goes on and on. So yeah, I don't think thrash metal was dead at all. Vector, yes, Vector I should mention too. And there's a plethora of other bands that have come out over the last decade who have put out some very good thrash metal albums. Now, there are some old school thrash metal fans out there that won't accept the new wave of thrash metal, which, to me it is what it is. Some of these people think these new thrash metal bands that are popping up are basically clone bands, or they're not really for the music. Which that's debatable. To me, if you're playing thrash metal, you gotta be into the music. Because you're not just putting out that kind of music if you're not into it, in my opinion. Yes, there are probably bands out there, that are bandwagon bands, obviously, that follow the trend. If one style of metal is bigger, they gotta play that style of metal. And once it dies off, they move on to something else. I totally get that. But anyways, we're going to go through some CDs here. Just stuff I've randomly picked out. Because, we got a lot of the legacy acts still putting out great thrash metal albums. Debatable, too, if some of these legacy acts are even putting out better material compared to, some of their classic material. That's totally debatable. But, let's look at some of these legacy acts that have come back, or who keep on putting out albums. I broke out a few here. This came out last year in 2018. This is a tremendous thrash album. Definitely a return to the roots. Much heavier too, I think, to an extent. I'm talking about The Subversive Kind by Deliverance. Yes. Great return to form. Deliverance is one of them bands. They never really went away. They just hadn't played thrash in a very long time. Well, this album is definitely a full-on return to the thrash metal of old. With the Deliverance self-titled album, Weapons of Our Warfare, and What a Joke being their thrash metal albums. After that, they would go in a different direction and pretty much abandon their thrash roots, starting with Stay of Execution. Albums like Learn, River, Disturbance, Camelot and Smithereens, and other albums. You'd get glimpses of thrash coming back in on albums like As Above, So Below, and their last studio album, which the name of it is actually, Hear What I Say, that's what the album was called. Yeah, so, Deliverance, I kind of put this in with thrash metal, but to me, there is a big power metal type of sound going on here. It's like a combination of power metal and thrash metal, obviously. I'm talking about Metal Church, who to me has been putting out stellar albums since they got Mike Howe back on vocals. You know, again, another band that never quit, really. You know, they've been dishing out albums. I just think their last two albums are much stronger compared to the stuff they did with Ronnie Monroe. And here's one, you know, I know a lot of people don't care for this, but I'm talking about Max Cavalera. Debatable if you want to call this thrash metal or death metal leanings or whatever, or groove metal, whatever. To me, this is just straight up brutal thrash metal. I'm talking about Cavalera Conspiracy's newest album, you know, Psychosis. Very brutal thrash metal here, you know. Yes, Max and Igor, to me, the real Sepultura, you know, put out a pretty damn killer album in 2018. You know, this might have came out in 2017, but yes, a very killer album. Alright, another legacy act that never really went away, and unfortunately, we just lost the guitar player of this band, Morten Stutzer. Unfortunately, I'm talking about Artillery. Now, compared to their earlier work, this one has more of a power metal vibe to it. Still thrashy, but the vocals are definitely more power metal compared to the stuff they did in the 80s, like Fear of Tomorrow, you know, and Terror Squad and albums like that, and By Inheritance. But again, another solid slab of thrash metal, with power metal leanings, obviously, when it comes to the vocals. Alright, now we're getting into the comebacks here. Pretty much. So, after 33 years, and debatable, and it's been debatable for years whether this is thrash metal or death metal. And of course, I'm talking about the newest Possessed. I put it in here anyways. Yeah. The originators of death metal, you know, they came up with the term death metal. Jeff Becerra came up with the term death metal, I should say. Way back in 1983, you know. But yeah, very good album. Possessed has never put out a bad album, in my opinion. And another band that never really went anywhere either. I'm talking about, you know, the newest Fluxed and Majestam, The End of Chaos. Definitely much thrashier compared to their earlier stuff. You know, well, I would say probably the thrashiest since Doomsday Deceiver. Again, this is another band that kind of gets lumped into that power metal, thrash metal thing. You know, because a lot of their albums aren't straight up thrash. But this one right here is quite thrashy. Alright. And of course, we got Death Angel with Humanicide. Yes, I know I've showed a lot of these CDs before, but for this video, it just makes sense. Yes, Humanicide by Death Angel, the newest Death Angel. Definitely a very heavy, very thrashy, aggressive new album by Death Angel, you know. With, you know, experimentations here and there, you know. Very good album, though. Another band that came back in 2004, you know, with The Art of Dying and, you know, Killing Season. And every album afterwards has gotten stronger and stronger. You know, Relentless Retribution, whatever other albums they had in between. Kind of slipping my head at the moment. And another big comeback. First album in 23 years. I'm talking about the UK's very own Eccentrics with Bury the Pain. This is a great thrash metal album. What a freaking good comeback album right here. And that's the thing about 2019, man. There's been a lot of great comeback albums here in 2019. Bands coming back that haven't put out albums in 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, over 30 years, you know, just coming back stronger and more badass than ever, you know. But yes, new Eccentrics, Definitely get it if you don't have it. And I've seen very many people talk about it for some freaking reason. Okay, another big comeback. Again, another band who hadn't put out an album in 23 years. You know, this album's starting to grow on me more and more. I mean, I did give it a pretty bad review when I reviewed it, but it has grown on me. I'm starting to like it more and more when I listen to it. I'm talking about the comeback album from Sacred Reich. You know? Yeah, anyway, sorry about that. Awakening by Sacred Reich, you know, the big comeback album. Yeah, not a bad album. Still not as good as the first two. And when I'm showing my 2019s, I don't know how I missed this. But anyways, we got the 19th studio album by Overkill, and Overkill has never stopped. They've been on a roll since putting out Ironbound in 2010. Just tremendous thrash metal album after thrash metal album. You know, but again, they've never stopped. They've always been consistent. Usually have an album out every 2 years, you know. I'm talking about the newest Overkill album, The Wings of War. Yes. And they're already working on album number 20 from what I understand. Yeah, Overkill's never going to stop. Okay, up next. Yeah, the newest Destruction album, Born to Perish. This is a really good album. Holy cow, it's this good. Yes. Man, I'll tell you what, this is just stomping thrash metal. Destruction, you know, they've always stayed pretty damn consistent too, and true to their sound. Since coming back with All Hell Breaks Loose in 1999. Might have came out in 2000. But yeah, since coming back with their album All Hell Breaks Loose, man, they've been very consistent and just putting out album after album. And of course, these next three bands, you know, we all know them, man. If you don't know these three bands, something's wrong with you. Dystopia by Megadeth, from 2016, obviously. You know, new Megadeth's coming in 2020. You know, Dave did beat cancer, thank God for that. But yeah, Dystopia, great return to form by Megadeth, in my opinion. This is a very good album. Very good album. I'm not going to talk about it much more. And of course, you know, Metallica's Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Seems like 3 years later here, a lot of people are kind of shitting on this album. I still don't think it's a bad album. Yeah, it's not a full-blown return to thrash, but you do get thrashy moments on here. You know, Spit Out the Bones, arguably the thrashiest tune they've done since probably Injustice for All. You know, you got other tunes like Atlas Rise, the self-titled track Hardwired, real thrashy. Yeah, good stuff in my opinion. And Anthrax's For All Kings. Yeah. Been seeing this album getting a lot of shit too. I don't think this is a bad album at all. You know, Zero Tolerance, arguably the thrashiest tune they've done since the early days. I mean, Evil Twin's a great track. I mean, you know, Blood Eagle Wings. Yeah, man. I think this is a good album. You know, Gotta Believe. Yeah, man, there's some thrashy tunes on here. I mean, it's still got, like, I don't know, it's kind of like a mixture of their thrashy stuff and the stuff they did with John Bush. But yeah. Anyways, I don't want to make this video too long. We're already at the 14-minute mark. So, I'm going to show you some bands here that just going to show you a few bands before I end this video that have come out with albums within the last 20 years or so. Maybe you've heard of these bands, maybe you haven't. Xperia, Vindication from 2002, I believe. Definitely in the style of Testament. In fact, this sounds a lot like Testament. Like more modern Testament, like The Gathering. Or albums like that. Very good stuff. It's got ex-member Demi Borgir in it. Yeah, Norwegian thrash metal band that did not want to play black metal. Pretty much, that's what Xperia is. Alright, moving on. We got King Flowey on October 31st. Something else I definitely recommend you guys check out. More along the lines of thrash death metal. But still, to me, it's definitely thrash metal. Just with a, maybe an early death metal influence, maybe a black and thrash type of influence. Okay, anyways, moving on, because I don't want to make this video too long. But yeah, we got Tankard. Got to get some more Tankard. German thrash metal, obviously. Of course, we got Coroner. More progressive style thrash metal. You know, here's one that kind of gets forgotten about, but I think this band was pretty freaking good. I'm talking about Witchery, which has members of Merciful Fate in it. You know, Charlie D'Angelo, the bass player of Arch Enemy, Merciful Fate, plays bass on this. Good stuff. Black and thrash metal, you know. Of course, you got Canada's Razor with Shotgun Justice. Just great stuff. Alright, now we're going to get into a few Christian thrash metal bands here. Of course, you know, this band's not around anymore. Well, they're called Once Dead now. They haven't put nothing out since 2006. I'm talking about Vengeance Rising, Released Upon the Earth. Not their best album. I prefer their earlier stuff, or their first couple albums actually, over this one. It's still decent though. Here's a progressive thrash metal band who's still putting out albums. I have not gotten any of their newer stuff though. I'm talking about Tourniquet. When Moth and Rust Destroy from 2003. This has a guest appearance from Marty Friedman on it. Great album. Definitely check out Tourniquet if you haven't heard Tourniquet. And of course, Scott Waters and Ultimatum. Into the Pit, their 2007 album. I guess they're on hiatus now. I know Scott's doing a lot of work with the record label that he has. No Life Till, you know, No Life Till Metal. But yeah, definitely check out Ultimatum if you haven't checked out Ultimatum. And last but not least, we got Believer. Again, more progressive thrash metal, Sanity Obscured. Very good stuff. Yeah, check that out. Alright, we've got a few new ones, or newer bands, or very underground bands. Now this is my friend's band from out here in Reading, PA. They've been around for over 30 years. They got a bunch of demos and, you know, self-released albums. Fatal Aggression. This is their newest EP, Evolution. Came out in 2017, I believe. Or maybe 2016. So yeah, that's something you guys definitely have never heard of. Now, this is on Shadow of Death Records, what I'm going to show you here. I've already showed these, but I'm showing them again. Herkie, and I believe they're working on a new album already. Great thrash metal. Yes. Then you got another awesome thrash metal band here who put out their first album, Victims of Fear. I'm talking about Burning. This is some really good thrash metal right here. Then we got one that has more of a death metal type of vibe too, but it's still thrash metal too. I'm talking about, you know, Massacre on the Battlefields by Slave Pit. Yes. And can't recommend this album anymore. This album's killer. I'm talking about Vector with Black Future. It came out in 2009, I believe. Yes. This is a freaking tremendous album. Technical thrash metal mixed with a bit of a black metal influence. Yeah, man. Then I got a couple of bands here. This is just old school raw black and thrash metal. I'm talking about Rider with Cursed Throne. Yes. Great stuff. Indeed. And last but not least, okay, Witch Trap with Trap the Witch. Yes. Again, more along the lines of black and thrash metal, or, you know, very good stuff anyways, with a very old school sound to it. Anyways, that's pretty much all I'm going to show right now. But the moral of the story is, yes, is thrash metal dead? Hell no, there's plenty of thrash metal out there. I mean, there's a bunch of bands out there I haven't even mentioned yet, you know, when it comes to thrash metal. So yes, thrash metal is alive and well. I don't think thrash metal's ever going to go away. I hope it doesn't ever go away. I mean, the legacy acts aren't going to be around forever, so we definitely need a new generation and a new breed of thrash metal coming up. Now, I think some people's complaint when it comes to thrash metal is a lot of these bands tend to stick to the old formula, which to me that's what thrash metal is kind of about, and aren't necessarily very original with how they perform thrash metal. Which you see here, I showed different varieties of thrash metal right here, you know, with these CDs I showed. Yeah. So yes, I think a lot of people's complaint, like I said, is, you know, that a lot of these thrash bands tend to be Exodus or Slayer or old school Metallica clones, or, you know, stick in that style. Which to me, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, you know. I mean, yeah, maybe some of the bands could experiment a little more, I guess, with thrash metal, but let's face it, nowadays it's very hard to be original when it comes to playing music in general, because it just seems like everything's been used up. You know, I just figured, you know, as long as you enjoy playing the music, you're about the music, that's all that matters. Anyways, that's the moral of the story here. To me, thrash metal is never going to go away. Alright guys, that's all I got to say. Keep it metal.